Hello again. As a teenager growing up in the 1960s, I was used to young people at that time arguing with authority at every touch and turn and demanding freedom to say anything at all. Being free to say anything meant being able to blaspheme, speak and print the strongest sexual swear words, say harsh things about politicians and anybody else, and in general for there to be no censorship of any kind. The abolition of censorship was a really big thing in the 1960s. The government was understood to be something which we treated with suspicion, and many young people felt that their own interests and those of the government were in more or less permanent opposition. Not doing what the government wanted was more or less an obligation for students and left-wing types. Now, the situation is reversed, and it is younger people who are keenest to follow orders and do as they are instructed. During the COVID business, it was left-wing young people who were the keenest of all to follow the rules and obey the curfews. They were the ones who spoke virtuously of doing the right thing, and they were willing to wear masks and socially distance far more readily than many older people. It is young people too who are the keenest to stop free speech and to make sure that everybody has the right view on things such as homosexuality and sex changes, immigration and Brexit. Instead of fighting against censorship, as was once the case, young folk now want to see more of it. They want their books to be censored and also films and plays that have unacceptable views in them. Many of them think that some books should be banned, and they are always on the prowl for unorthodox views or the wrong words in books published years ago. Even more alarmingly, they want to give up their freedom and privacy for the greater good of society. In the description to this video, I give a link to a horrifying piece of research in the United States. A survey was undertaken asking if people thought it would be a good idea if the government were to install surveillance cameras in people's homes to monitor their behaviour and provide a permanent record if things such as domestic or sexual violence took place. Believe it or not, 29%, that is almost a third, of young people under the age of 30 thought that this was a good idea and one of which they approved. I'm guessing that indoctrination at school accounts for a good deal of this awful conformism. It would be a brave child who argued for an individual view on climate change, homosexuality or racism these days and most simply accept what they're taught. The days when schools primarily imparted academic knowledge are long gone, and these days social attitudes are rigorously taught. It's depressing because if teenagers and people in their 20s are not going to rebel, then our society will remain stagnant. It's that constant tension between young radicals and revolutionaries and older people who wish to maintain the status quo which brings about change in the society. If young people are actually going to be in agreement with older ones about all kinds of things, then intellectual progression is going to grind to a halt.